Welcome to Overcoming Fear. Today, we're going to take a step forward. Up to this point, we've been talking about the first steps on the paths of love and fear. But this image has room for 3 more steps. So, what follows fear and love? We've talked about how love is the opposite of fear, the antidote to fear. We've talked about that verse from the Bible, perfect love casts out fear. But how does perfect love cast out fear? What comes next? To get that answer, we want to look at what fear and love lead us to do. So if you remember, fear is a response to a threat. When we see something dangerous in the future or imagine something dangerous, we get afraid. And then we take action to try to avoid that threat. And so what comes next from fear is control. Now, control has more than one definition, so I want to be really specific. Sometimes control can be good. Control means trying to be certain about what you're going to get. Control means that when I do A, I get B. And every machine, every computer system, lots of business processes are designed to bring control so that you know that when you do something, you know what's going to happen. A machine that works predictably time after time, that always does what you want, is a good thing. So when you're driving, if you turn the wheel to the left, you want to know that the car is going to go to the left. If you turn the wheel to the right, you want to know the car is going to go to the right. In a situation like that, you need control, and the more control we can have, the better. But just like fear is good in some situations, but causes problems in others, sometimes trying to be in control causes problems. And specifically, control becomes a problem when we're trying to encounter something that's inherently beyond our control. Today we're going to talk about one in particular, trying to control other people. Now, we normally use the word controlling to describe a person who's unpleasant and demanding and somebody who gives orders and you don't want to be around. But the truth is, orders and demands aren't the only tools we use to control people, and they're not even the best tools we have to control people. Think about if you've ever had a little child or been a teacher or even seen little children. One of the first things people tell other little kids about social problems is, if you want to be nice, you have to be nice to other people. If you want them to share, you need to share with them. When they're a little older, we might say, if you want respect, you got to respect them. All of these things are teaching a form of control. You do this, they'll do that. And most of our society, when you look at from little toddlers teaching each other up to peace treaties and international agreements, all of it is based on this principle of exchange. I do one thing, you respond in a predictable way. Well, why is predictability so important to us? It's because predictability equals safety. When we know what to expect from someone, we know they won't put us at risk. And just as importantly, when we know what to expect from each other, we can cooperate to take on whatever challenges or dangers we're facing. So most relationships come down to this very basic principle. 2 people agree on the rules for their relationship so they know what to expect from each other. And that consistency allows them to be safe around each other and then work together to achieve goals or protect themselves from other dangers. And this need for the safety that comes from consistency is built in very deeply. Even children have to experience consistency to grow up safe and healthy. They need to have that experience of that cause and effect relationship so that they know that they can be sure how people are going to act. And if they don't get consistent behavior from the people around them, they'll get creative. A lot of bad behavior from kids with behavior problems, is a way of trying to get consistent behavior. If a child's raised in an environment where being good doesn't get them a consistent response, if the people around them are abusive or distant or busy, they figure out pretty quickly that being bad will get you a predictable result. They learn that if they yell or throw things or hit someone, the adults around them are always going to react the same way. Now, that way might be to get mad and yell and get them in trouble, but what's amazing is that even for a child, getting unpleasant, consistent behavior is better than getting inconsistent behavior that's pleasant some of the time. So that need for consistency and safety that we have as little children never leaves us. If you look at anyone who gives advice about adult relationships, they'll talk about the importance you have to communicate, you have to understand each other. It's all about building a situation where you understand what you're going to get when you do something. The problem is that often we choose our actions with the goal of getting what we want from another person. Consciously or unconsciously, we try to control the people we're interacting with. And again, this doesn't mean we're using demands and threats. Lots of people, maybe even most people, treat other people well because they know it'll help or believe it will help others treat them well. They believe that when they treat people a certain way, they should know what to expect. And this isn't just a problem in close personal relationships. I spent a lot of years working in tech support, taking phone calls and emails from people with computer problems. And eventually, when someone called and said, "I want to talk to your supervisor," that was me. And one of the things I noticed was that there wasn't much connection between how angry a customer got and how bad their problem was. Some people with really huge problems were totally relaxed and pleasant, and some people with simple problems were absolutely enraged. In fact, the very angriest customers were the people who caused their own problems. So often I'd get a call from a customer who was just irate, and I'd walk through the steps of what we did, and I'd find that the technician, the computer support person, had done everything exactly right. So I'd calm them down or not and get off the phone and then go back to the technician and go over the call and say, "So don't worry, you did everything right." And I thought that would be good news. I thought if I told someone you did everything right, they'd be happy. But a lot of people had trouble with it. They'd push back and they'd say, "No, I didn't do everything right. I must have done something wrong." And so I had this experience where people would argue with me when I told them they were doing their jobs well. Why? Because they wanted to be in control. See, when I say, if they're mad at me, I must have done something wrong, that also means if I do things right, I can keep them from getting mad. And that comes down to, I can learn to control their feelings. Well, that's not true. We can't control anyone's feelings. We can't even control our own feelings. The truth is, sometimes, even when you do everything you can, even when you do everything right, some people are not going to react predictably. Some people are going to be mad or sad or anxious, even when you're doing everything you can. And not everybody wants to admit that. Some people want to take blame for other people's feelings because that allows them to maintain the illusion that they're in control. So with that, I want to ask you a couple questions today. Questions about what you expect from people and how you attempt to take control. And don't feel bad. We've talked about why controlling other people isn't good, but everybody does it. And so these aren't, you're not falling short when we ask these questions. So first, what expectations do you have for people? That's the first question. And second, when you treat someone well or badly, how do you expect them to react? So if you're with a group of people, we can discuss this. And if you're by yourself, then maybe make some notes or journal and come back to the next video.